that in a second. But here, now watch this. When you look at this, here's the most important thing on this screen. The entities funding the entire system sitting atop the model know the least about how it works and almost blindly fund it. That's the big opportunity. You know, my mom always used to tell me, boy, when you know better, you do better. It's true. So now let me get back to the second part here. The outflow of cash for ingredient costs, I said, is too high. The reason is called spreads. The drug pricing standard, which forms the basis for discounted prices, is known as average wholesale price, AWP. From the pharmacy side of the business, we refer to AWP as ain't what's paid. Well, why is that? Generic drugs have two prices. Now, and I'm focusing on generic drugs for one reason only. It's where the margin is. It's where the margin is. So while 20% of the revenue to the PBM comes from generics, 75% of the margin comes from generics. AWP is an artificially inflated price that no one pays. Yet plan sponsors' cost is often based upon this inflated list price. The MAC price is more closely related to the actual acquisition cost than is the AWP, but it too is higher than the AAC. This presents a problem, and it's called differential contracting. And I'm going to show you a real world example here, how this plays out. Take a look at fluoxetine, 20 milligram there, the AWP 266, the brand price in white 630, the MAC price $25.20. As you can see, the AWP is substantially higher than the MAC price. So with differential pricing and 50% discount, I know it's low. And it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you why here in a bit, but we're just keeping it simple right now on this slide. So with a discount of 50% off of the AWP, the plan sponsor is billed $133. However, reimbursement to the pharmacy is based upon MAC. Happens every day. Happens every day. So that creates a spread now of $108. Now, spreads that high, they happen a lot, but relatively speaking, they happen less frequently than what we typically see of $4 to $8 per prescription for a generic medication. But again, it's not uncommon at all. In fact, I expect to see it. Spreads as high as $200 for a single generic medication. And here's how that happens. This is something I post on my blog, blog.transparentrx.com, every Thursday. I should say, I try to post it every Thursday. Sometimes it's Friday. But I give you actual cost for some heavily dispensed medications. And when I say actual cost, I'm saying what the pharmacy paid to put the product on the shelf. The two reimbursement methods that we just talked about were AWP and MAC. Now let me show you how this works, real world. Let's take a look at pravastatin, generic. The AWP is $289.36. I'm going to keep it simple, make it $290. Under the AWP discount, say, let's call it a pricing method to the plan sponsor. AWP minus whatever the discount is. The list price is $290. With a discount of, let's say, 80%. Let's assume the generic effective rate is 80%, which means generic effective rate is the average or weighted average discount off of AWP, considering all pricing methods, usual and customary, AWP, MAC, whatever it is. So we're going to say it's 80%. That would give a discount, let's say, to right around $230. That would mean the plan sponsor's cost is $60. You with me so far? Now take a look at what it costs to put this product on the shelf. $9.99. Holy smokes. No matter how many times I see this, or I walk through this with clients, whomever, it still makes me angry. So the plan sponsor is billed $60, and let's consider the dispensing fee a wash. Let's consider it a wash. So theoretically, the PBM could reimburse the pharmacy the cost of the product, ingredient cost, $10, and mark it up 100% to give the pharmacy a profit, which is tough. Okay, so you saw my profile. I've owned the pharmacy. I deal with it every day. 100% markup, even on the generic, is rare. Coming from a PBM to a retail pharmacy. So the PBM could reimburse the pharmacy the cost of the product plus 100% markup. The PBM pays to the pharmacy $20. That leaves $40. Can someone tell me what that $40 is often referred to as? Help me out. Just chat it to me. No takers? It's the spread. That's the spread everyone talks about, but aren't really sure how it manifests. That's how it manifests. So if someone tells me, oh, our PBM doesn't make any money off the spread, well then can you tell me how much they reimburse the pharmacy? Because if you can't tell me that, I'm going to err on the side of caution here and assume that there's a spread happening. Because if your contract doesn't prevent it, and again, how do you know that it's not happening? And how can you prevent it in the contract if you don't know how it manifests? Your definition may be different than the one I've just shared with you here. So under the case of a MAC, so let's say now that the product is on the MAC list and it has a price. And obviously the MAC prices, they fluctuate. PBMs can bring products in and out essentially as they see fit and change prices as they see fit. And many of them consider the MAC list proprietary and won't share it with their clients. That's a no-no. So we could say that the MAC price for this particular product, let's say that the MAC price was, you know, let's say the MAC price was 30 bucks for this particular product. It could be anything. The plan sponsor is still going to overpay by 10 bucks. Still going to overpay by 10 bucks. Poll question, real quick. Which is most likely to be true about the sales culture within a non-fiduciary PBM? Consider everything that I've just shared here with you in the past 20-25 minutes and answer this question. And it's going to pop up on your screen, and you should have that now. Real quick. And the key point here, the sales culture and non-fiduciary PBM, which is most likely to be true? And just a bit of a, based upon the responses I get, you know, I haven't done any like sort of pre-webinar planning, so I haven't looked at people who've registered their profiles, but I can look at the responses and get an idea of what it is you do. What is your role within the employee benefits industry? I can kind of get that from the responses I get. So there's really no right or wrong answer to this. But my response would be, believes best clients have the deepest pockets and know the least about the industry. That would be my response based on what I see on a daily basis. So, all right, moving forward. Contrary to popular opinion, prescription drugs that are dispensed from a PBM's mail order pharmacy do not necessarily translate into lower costs for the plan sponsor. They should, but that's not always the case. The information I'm sharing with you we had no input into it whatsoever. The research was conducted by the Creighton University School of Pharmacy. There's also a more recent report that was written by CMS that talked about both mail order and preferred pharmacy networks, and the conclusion was those two don't necessarily offer lower costs. It depends. It depends on who's purchasing these services, these networks. The more knowledgeable you are, the less you pay, and the better outcomes your members will receive. Here's a case study. Patient originally has a atenolol 50 milligram quantity of 90 dispensed from the PBM's mail order pharmacy at a cost of 38 bucks. Had that patient simply walked into Joe's Corner Pharmacy on the same day, not as part of a group, uninsured, and paid out of pocket, that patient would have paid $8 in the community pharmacy, saving $30, and you see more examples of that as we move down the table here. One reason that happens, not just in mail order, but in retail as well, because now humongous quantities of products are being shipped to distribution centers or central field pharmacies, and then repackaged and shipped out to individual stores. Here's how it works. In the before scenario, patient goes into the pharmacy, has a script for Lipitor. The product doesn't matter. I know it's generic. It doesn't matter. That's not the point here. But Lipitor, everyone's familiar with that product. So the pharmacy is reimbursed now, adding in a dispensing fee, 14% discount. The pharmacy is reimbursed by the PBM 128.45. Keep in mind as I walk through this, the business model scenario that I walked through in terms of PBMs to retail pharmacies and third-party payers. And I specifically talked about the opportunities from PBM-owned pharmacies. In the after scenario, patient decides to have the same medication dispensed from the PBM's mail order pharmacy. The cost hasn't changed. The quantity hasn't changed. The dose hasn't changed until the PBM decides to repackage the products. In doing so, as a licensed repackager or relabeler, in a sense, the PBM now, or that mail order pharmacy now becomes, in a sense, the original manufacturer of the product and is now able to legally change the AWP. Did you get that? Is now legally able to change the AWP, which was set by the original manufacturer of the product. So now the package size is based upon 60, and the PBM's mail order pharmacy changes the AWP to 408.60. Remember, the patient only needs a quantity of 30. So based upon that 30, the new AWP is $204.30. And even with a bigger discount, because it's mail order, which is one of the selling points, the PBM pays itself $159.35, a significant increase over the $128.45 there. A fiduciary PBM can't do this. Period. Can't do it. A non-fiduciary PBM, I don't care how you label it, transparent, pass-through, fully transparent, and pass-through, doesn't matter. They partake in these hidden cash flow methods unless the contract prevents them from doing so. Just because it's a pass-through or transparent doesn't mean they don't engage in self-dealing. Here's the background information on that study. Bottom line, when the member copayment is lowered to encourage members, to nudge them to go with mail order services, the mail order option can cost the payer more than the retail pharmacy. Misleading contract language. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is what matters. The contract language. I'm going to talk about just two examples, MAC list and rebates. Contract language gives the reasonable person the impression there's only one MAC list. There oftentimes are more than one MAC list. PBMs can employ different MAC lists among clients, can employ different MAC lists between the client and the pharmacy. The employer's MAC list will be less comprehensive and less aggressive than the pharmacy MAC list, which does what? Creates spreads. Again, most plan sponsors don't know what they don't know, and oh boy, here we go. I told you I was going to get back to this. The contract language gives the sponsor the impression there's only one rebate. There are, in fact, multiple types of rebates. And the reason that there are multiple types of rebates is so that the PBM can siphon off a big portion of it. When a plan sponsor says we're getting 95% of the rebate, the PBM's only getting 5%, more times than not, you're only talking about the formulary rebate. Which, believe it or not, Believe it or not, it's oftentimes the smallest form of rebate, monetarily speaking. This is information that has rarely gone public. A couple months ago, Express Scripts sued specialty drug maker Kaleo for allegedly not paying rebates that Express Scripts was owed. As a result of that, that complaint became public. Here's what it revealed. And you can go out online. I think I may have even given you a copy of it here. Should be in the materials section of your control panel. And so take a peek. If you don't believe me, take a peek at the complaint. This is for one drug. Formulary rebate, $1,600. The admin fee, $24,000. Formulary rebate, $7,100. The admin fee, $129,000. The PBM has done nothing to earn that. And in the contract language, it's written such that when the PBM talks about we're going to keep the admin fee, the purchaser, the plan sponsor, almost believes it to be inconsequential. Nothing could be further from the truth. What's the bottom line here? Every PBM is going to say that they're transparent. In fact, I won't even argue whether or not a PBM is transparent or not. What I will argue is that there are different levels of transparency. You have to determine which level you're willing to accept. Level 1 is an imposter. It's only part of the equation. It only tells part of the story. Level 2 provides a little bit more transparency than level 1, but it too leaves money on the table. Level 3 incorporates both levels 1 and 2, but now you've got the full auditing provisions. Let me tell you something. If you cannot verify the trust that you put in the PBM, and when I say, let me hold off, I'm going to get to that in a second. The bottom line is level 3 is the real deal. And that's the minimum level of transparency any purchaser should be willing to accept when they hire a middleman. PBMs are a commodity, folks. Nothing special here. Don't buy into it. We are a commodity. So what? PBMs claim to be transparent, but really, in fact, are opaque. Hidden cash flows dominate revenue streams. So what, Tyrone? Well, that eventually leads to overpayments from the plan sponsors and then underpayments in terms of the amount of rebate, or what we refer to, because it's more comprehensive, manufacturer revenue going back to the plan sponsor. Ultimately, when plan sponsors overpay, they're looking for a way out. And more times than not, it's increased cost share to the patient, which presents a whole nother set of issues, especially non-adherence. I got one more slide, and this is the big one, why you're here today. Non-adherence leads to increased hospital costs, both inpatient and outpatient. It comes full circle. In worst case scenario, people die. You've got the ability to make that call. People die when they become non-adherent.